stranger, it's nice to meet you. My name's Ramona, and this here's my band. Well, do you wanna spend our lives together? Well, I want you to be my man.
Welcome to Bands You've Never Heard Of, the podcast you can trust to find great bands that will have you asking yourself, why haven't I heard of them yet? I'm JR, and I usually spend my free time scouring the internet for unknown bands that move me, and I introduce them to my co-host Gary. He's never heard them before now, and neither have you. How you doing, Gary?
I'm doing good, man. But I've heard this.
I know this one's a little different. Today's band you've never heard of, or BYNHO, B-Y-N-H-O, get it, is Ramona and the Holy Smokes. And here's what you need to know before we get started. 1, they don't yet, and I do stress the word yet, have millions of plays on Spotify or YouTube. The most any song has been played as of this recording is about 18,000. All right, first box checked. 2, are they any good? Well, that gets answered as soon as Ramona opens her mouth and transports you into her world of honky-tonks, past boyfriends, her mama, and cigarettes. I was instantly hooked. The Holy Smokes, well, these guys seem to be the real deal. Pedal steel, twang, driving beats, and guitar solos that will make you cry. And their bio tells you exactly what you need to know. Nothing more, nothing less. You ready, Gary? We normally rate the bio.
Yeah.
Here's the bio, as it appears on Spotify right now. Formed in the spring of 2022, Ramona and the Holy Smokes are a 5-piece honky-tonk band that channels the spirit of the golden age of country through a thoroughly modern lens. Fronted by Ramona Martinez, whose songwriting has earned her recognition from Wide Open Country as one of the 15 Latino artists shaping country music. Their style can be described as pre-1964 country that feels both classic and vitally current. The lineup also includes Kyle Lawton-Kilduff on guitar, Brooks Hefner on pedal steel, Jay Wypron on bass, and Porter Braley on drums. And lastly, number 5, they're local. I reached out to Ramona and the Holy Smokes using the Contact Us page on their website, hoping they might have time to do an interview with us for this show before they move on to their next big gig. Within an hour, I got a phone call from Ramona herself, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is how we ended up lucky enough to be sitting in a studio with Ramona Martinez, the leader of this week's band you've never heard of, Ramona and the Holy Smokes. Ramona, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. I'm happy to be here.
I had to do some quick work to figure out how can we record with 3 people in one room. Like you said, we've never done that before. I reached out to our friend Tim at Studio 607, who is graciously providing us studio time. So this show is officially sponsored in part by Studio 607. You've spent some time in the studio, right?
Oh, yes. Before I was a musician, I was a podcast producer and radio producer for almost 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah, from 2012 until, I think 2020, so 8 years.
Did you work on shows that like you had developed or working on other people's shows or what?
I started working on the NPR newscast in DC, so when you hear like from NPR News, I am Corfa Coleman.
Yeah.
I was working behind the scenes on that desk.
Okay.
Cutting tape and editing copy and stuff. And then I moved here to Charlottesville to take a job on a podcast at UVA called Backstory. And I worked there for like 2.5 years. And then my friend Lewis Walls and I produced a podcast on the history of objectivity in journalism called The View from Somewhere. And basically the thesis of the podcast is that objectivity is the ideology of the status quo, and that it's basically used as a weapon to silence people of color or queer people or people who are kind of on the fringes of society who have been working in journalism.
People that are trying to change things.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And then also spent time in the studio. We just finished recording our debut album.
Oh, you have finished?
We're done. It's being mastered.
Sweet. No kidding. How many songs are going to be on the album?
10 songs.
10 songs.
Yep.
And so you have 6 songs out right now.
We do.
On Spotify and everywhere else, right? How will the new songs be different, or how have you evolved since those first 6 songs?
Well, I think as a honky-tonk band, we play dance music, right? So all of our songs are two-steps, shuffles, waltzes. I'm trying to think of what other country dances there are. But, and so that, when we were putting together the album, we were like, okay, we can't have more than one waltz because we've got like almost 10 waltzes that we play in our set. We don't want more than one shuffle. We don't want more than 2 slow songs, you know? And so we have a really big category, like, a really big repertoire of original music. We have like 35 originals or something that we play in our shows. And so it was really hard to pick which ones are going to make the album. But ultimately we're like, we just want to make, if this is the last chance we ever get to make an album, like what are the ones that like absolutely have to be on there? And I think what's going to sound a little different is that we brought in guest musicians. So we have fiddle on the album. We have piano on the album. We did have that in our singles, actually, on some of them. Piano specifically. And then we also have accordion on one of the songs because we're doing a Mexitonk song finally.
Oh.
That's a mariachi honky-tonk combo.
Yeah, we wanted to delve into that a little bit.
Yes, definitely. But anyway, sorry, I'm rambling on. But that's how it'll be a little bit different. We have one song that's more of like a kind of nod to like 50s like R&B, even like rock, a little kind of like a flamingos sort of style song. And then we have one that's like very Tammy Wynette with like a string section, and like we really like wanted to go all in on that. So you'll hear a little bit of similar things from the singles, but we're also trying to push in new directions a little bit too.
You know, one of the things we've noticed on a lot of the bands we've featured on these shows is that at first it seems like, all right, this band has a sound. And then all of a sudden you encounter a song where like, okay, this band doesn't sound like this band anymore.
Right.
Gary, you're often kind of critical of that, right? Especially
when
of
it's a one-off and they don't follow it. Now, that was the thing that we really got on with 3 for 0.
3 for Silver.
The
Room for Zero.
Because we could watch that. We could watch that evolution. They started out one way, and it was very kind of ska punk and boom 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 boom, and then as they kept morphing as time went on, and it was glorious to kind of hear and watch that happen as they moved along. But yeah, every so often, if it's just an outlier, it gets like, oh, okay, that's a little weird.
Yeah, I mean the like song that I was telling you about that's like 50s flamingos kind of inspired, that one is, it's definitely a one-off, but also there's pedal steel, it's me singing. I think it's like firmly still in our wheelhouse, I think like the album would be boring if all the songs sounded,
Well, I think as long as you put that pedal steel in there, that's going to be the tie that binds.
Totally.
Because that is unmistakable. Because that was one of the first things I asked when I got here is does anybody know who the steel player is? Because they are few and far between.
It's true.
Just for the amount of discipline it takes to even contemplate that instrument is a little bit beyond 99.99% of guitar players.
I agree.
So
I assume the songs you are going to release as your album and the additional songs you clearly have that we haven't all heard yet, you've been playing them out, and how has the response been?
Yeah, this band is been interesting in that way. Like, we actually started out always have played more originals than covers, and so like as we play playing 3-hour gigs as a honky-tonk band is pretty common. Yeah, and so we have been like slowly adding more covers. We've done a Mock Stars Ball here in Charlottesville 2 years. The last 2 years, which if you're probably not familiar with that, if you're not from Charlottesville, it's basically an event on Halloween where bands will pretend to be another band and play a set. So we did Patsy Cline 2 years ago. Okay. And then we did Waylon Jennings last year. And so we have a lot of Patsy Cline and Waylon Jennings covers in our set. We probably have like 7 or 8 Waylon songs we play. Not all in one set usually, but yeah, so people have been hearing a lot of the originals for 2.5 years, 3 years since we formed as a band. And people will be like, is, the song about your cat going to be on the album? You're like, no, I'm sorry. Like, how about You're Not My Dad? Is that going to be on the album? I'm like, no, I'm sorry. There's so many songs that people like that just didn't make the cut, which is so hard. But I know that's a lot of the songs we did put on the album are ones that people have enjoyed and are gonna like hearing recorded.
It allows you to leave them wanting more.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes.
A follow up, future releases. That'll be good.
Yes.
You do most of the songwriting yourself?
I do. I have co-written like 10 of the songs with a woman named Maddie Mae Martin, who's based in Remington, Virginia, and she is a wonderful songwriter. And so we wrote, I think on the album there's 4 songs that we co-wrote together. But usually I will start a song, and then when I was working with Maddie a lot 2 years ago, I would bring a song to her and say like, I'm stuck, I can't get past this, and then she would help me develop it. The first track on the album we wrote in an hour, and it's one of the best things we've ever written, and the crowd always responds to it. We're really excited for that to come out. It probably will be our first single, coming out at the end of next month. So
what's it about?
It's called Gonna Be Mine. It was actually inspired by driving around in Crozet. I drove by a really big white house on a hill, and I started singing to myself like, that's gonna be my house someday, that's gonna be my house someday.
Nice.
So the song is about a woman dreaming of kind of like a stereotypical Southern woman's dream of luxury. So the first verse she sings about the man that she's picked out, the house, and then the last verse is like, I won't always be who I am today. I'll be eating all organic and sipping Chardonnay.
Oh, that's so Crozet.
I know, isn't it?
That's so Crozet.
I'll be a real fancy lady with a white Pekingese, rich enough to purchase anything that I please. So it's about fantasy, but the more I sing it, the less satirical it is. I'm like, I actually think I do want this life, and it's less of a joke than it was when we wrote it. So, yeah.
I'm always a little surprised when bands respond favorably to my request that they appear on a show called Bands You've Never Heard Of.
Oh, yes.
Would you agree that you fit the mold for this show, that you're not quite that well known yet? Or am I off the mark here?
No. I mean, there's a certain thing, like, this day and age being an artist is really weird, as I'm sure you know. Like, there's no path. Like, the path to financial success is like totally different, or like musical success. Like, there's no like people coming to like scoop you out of the sky and like launching you into fame, and then you sell CDs forever and you're good.
Right.
But it is in some ways a lot more level of a playing field, because if you have good social media strategy, and you have to have money to do any of this. That's like, and we raised money so that we could put out this album. But like, in the algorithmic world that is Spotify and Instagram, people in our genre, like other artists, know about us because of the algorithm on Spotify and Instagram. So we've gotten opportunities to open for big acts because of that. They'll be like, oh yeah, like Willie Carlisle, we've opened for him twice as a duo, Brooks and I. And he was like, oh, I've been following you for like 2 years. And like, you've been on my short list of people I want to open for me because of Instagram, So, and then occasionally I'll meet someone and introduce the band, and people be like, I think I've heard of you. So, most people have not heard of us though. So I agree. It's appropriate.
So you've mentioned the band a couple times. Let's talk about those. Those guys weren't able to make it into the studio. The studio is just not big enough for the Holy Smokes.
And also you might get, I mean, they they don't have mics on stage for a reason sometimes. They're the wittiest group of people I have ever met, and all of us together in a van is just like, I spend most of my time belly laughing, crying.
How'd you get hooked up with these guys?
Well, the 4 of them had been playing in another country band for 2 years before they met me. And then I played a solo show October of 2021, and Brooks, the pedal steel player, was in the audience, and we didn't know each other. And he reached out to me via Instagram or something and was like, hey, if you ever want a pedal steel behind your country songs, let me know. And I was like, absolutely. How often do you get a pedal steel player offering to play music with you? So I was like, that's happening. And then I had a guitarist offer, I had a drummer offer, and then a bass. We just needed like a bass player. And so the lineup has changed a little bit since then. We had a different drummer before Porter, and he had a baby and so wasn't able to his third baby was not able to continue with the band. And then our guitar player got a big promotion at work, and so he was out. So Kyle, who's our bass player, or our guitar player now, switched from bass to guitar, and we got Jay Oipron, who's on bass now.
So I said his name pretty close to correct.
I was really impressed by that.
Thank you.
So Kyle was on bass, now on guitar. Brooks has always been on pedal steel. And then Porter came on drums about 2.5 years ago, around the same time that Jay came on drums 2.5 years ago. And the band that they were in together fell apart pretty quickly after the four of us started playing together. And then now I got them full time. And what's amazing about them, not only are they incredible musicians, so smart, they really have been invested in this project since joining. And by that, I mean 50% of all of the money we've ever made has gone back into an account to pay for the band, to buy a van, to get hotels, gas, whatever. We funded. The album, all said and done, is probably going to cost us like $40,000. Maybe 35. And 10,000 of that came from us. And then we raised 23,000 on Kickstarter to do a lot of the other stuff. So
no kidding. From how many people do you have?
Less than 200.
200 or less. That's pretty. That's
strong. That's very strong.
And a lot of it, most of the people were from Virginia, which were, is a testament to.
Is that where you've played mostly, or have you gone out beyond Virginia at all?
Yes, we go out of town like once or twice a month, and it has been that way for the last 1.5 years. So we play in the Triangle quite a bit. We play in Durham, Raleigh.
You have a gig coming up in Johnson City,
Chapel Hill. We do. We play down there in Asheville quite a bit, in that area. We get over to Knoxville quite a bit. We play Baltimore, Philly, New York City a couple times a year. DC area is hard. Like, they don't really have a lot of venues for small bands. It's mostly national acts.
Best just to stay away from the DC area right now anyway.
I mean, I used to live there, so.
Yeah, when I was touring back in the 80s and early 90s, the same. It has not changed.
Yeah.
It was exactly the same then. Finding a venue to take a mid-sized band was virtually impossible.
It's so weird. I wonder why that is.
Because they have the hyper-local places.
Yeah.
And then the big venues. And
that's it.
There's just nowhere in between.
And there's probably the hyper-locals are getting weeded out too, probably.
Somewhat. But but it's not a good segue.
It's okay.
But what brought you to this style of country music, period, but especially country music? Because this ended way before you were born. I mean, was it family oriented, or you just found it, or?
So back in the day, back like 10 years ago, when I was working in radio, I also had a job DJing a country music show on WAMU's Bluegrass Country up in DC, and that show was not just country music, but like bluegrass, roots, old time, rockabilly, kind of like anything that we might, whatever, under the American roots music genre. Yeah. But the show played music from 1920 to 1980. And every song that I played, I researched. So I wrote basically an 8-page paper every week. So like every song you heard, I would give you like a paragraph of information of who was in it, what the song was about, what is there a cool story associated with it, like, whatever.
Yeah.
And bluegrass was actually like how I kind of got into that world. I played upright bass for a long time and got recruited into a bluegrass band in college and fell in love with the Monroe Brothers and Ralph Stanley and like all the really old bluegrass, Flat and Scruggs, of course. And then kind of like jumped over to country in the same, my dad listened to Patsy Cline growing up, not a lot, but she was around, and Johnny Cash and this kind of thing. And so they were like Hank Williams. So like the big giants of country, kind of like, oh, like I'll check that out. And then I had written music when I was 16. I got a acoustic guitar and wrote maybe like 10 songs, but never really wrote anything until I turned 31. And then I started writing, and it was country music. Like I didn't try to write country music, but the songs that I wrote were like 3 chords, simple lyrics, singing from my heart. And then it was like, here, this is it.
And
so
you add a pedal steel and you're done.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mix and bake at 350 for 30 minutes.
Exactly. I would like to think, though, that it might be a family thing deep down. Like, my dad's from Corpus Christi, Texas. And I didn't spend any time there growing up because my mom worked for the State Department, so I actually grew up overseas most of my life. But when people hear our band, they think we're from Texas. Like, that's just kind of what...
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, people from Texas will be like, are you from Texas? Because I think that the style of country music we play is more common down there. And then especially when you throw in the mariachi, people are like, you know.
Right. So what did you have to bring in a bunch of extra musicians for the mariachi tinged
No, just the accordion.
Just the accordion.
Yeah.
I am excited to hear that. You call it Mexitonk, is that right?
Yep, Mexitonk. So it's mainly because my main interest in Mexican music is mariachi. That's mostly what it's been. So basically, like, I'll write, like, the song on the album is called Esta Herida, which means this wound. And so I wrote a verse in Spanish, and then I basically tried to write, kind of like Texas Tornado style, like write a verse in English. Mm-hmm. Not an exact translation, but kind of like a emotional translation.
Sure.
And then brought it to the band, and they helped me arrange it into, I guess, I mean, it ended up kind of being like a Texas Tornado-y thing, which is like not really mariachi. It's more like conjunto, or like with the accordion. I don't know. So like it's the form of the song itself is mariachi, and by that I mean the length of the lines is not even. So it's not like country music where it's like 4 bars, 4 bars. It's much more based on the line of the lyric, and it's much more like mariachi is much more based on like the words of the song rather than like the melody, I guess, or like the band. So the trick when we do Mexitonk is to like, how can we not have this just be about the singer and then the band doesn't really get to do anything interesting? So like we're always trying to like, how do we take like the bones of what might be a mariachi song and then with instrumentation and arrangement and whatever kind of make it more Western, country Western sounding. When we play live, we play a fair amount of very famous mariachi tunes. Historia de un Amor is a very famous one. We play a couple songs by Vicente Fernandez, who is probably the most famous mariachi singer. So we do Volver, El Rey, and we're basically playing it straight, but we don't have a mariachi band. We have a country Western band. So it just kind of naturally sounds Western. Just by dint of not having like trumpets and a full mariachi band.
Sure. How long are we going to have to wait before we can hear this?
That one is probably not going to be out until September 26th.
And you don't want to just email me a track that we can world premiere on this show?
Probably not.
No, I get it. That makes sense. So it's almost like with mariachi, if I'm picking up what you're putting down, it's more about the message than the medium. It's at least no, because like, how do I like
put
the medium
this?
is there to serve the message as opposed to the message needing to fit into the structure of, say, the song.
I guess like structurally, yes. Like if you were to like, so my band had to learn this one mariachi song that we don't play anymore because it's so uneven that they like don't like playing it because it's very difficult to know when to change, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of what I mean is like, it's not like you can't guess when the change is going to happen because it's kind of like, it's whenever the singer is done expressing their sorrow or whatever.
We're playing mariachi and I didn't even know
yeah,
it,
I had no idea.
That's how we do it. I just watch him, and when it seems like he's done with a verse, I guess we're changing to the chorus.
It's time to go.
That's funny.
So I was at your show the other night at Fridays After 5. I was able to stay for the first couple of songs, and then I had to actually come here to work with Tim to get the studio set up, so I didn't get to stick around, and I was kind of glad I did, because the skies seemed to open up and dump all over the place.
Yeah.
And I'm just curious, considering the weather and the crowd, and how did Fridays After 5 go for you? How was it as a gig?
Oh, well, we have played it. So, funny story. The second gig this band ever had was Fridays After 5.
Wow.
It was with the old drummer and the old guitar player. But yeah, that was nuts. I mean, our friends, the Lua Project, invited us to open.
Yeah.
And we had formed as a band like literally like 2 months before then. So this past Friday was our third time playing it. 2 years ago, we headlined it. And so I think if 2 years ago we had gotten shut down after 40 minutes because of the rain, we would have all been totally devastated.
Yeah.
But because we had already done it, we were kind of like, it happens. It's fine. You know, that's okay.
Show business.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
So it did shut things down.
oh,
It
yeah.
was bad, right?
We got 40 minutes in and they were like, we're done. Because there was lightning and that messes up equipment. But I was really happy that we got to do it, even if it was cut short, because, you know, some people, that's the only event they've seen us play at. And so for 40 minutes, we could be like, look how much better we gotten. Because we played last year 139 shows. And so we're so much better than we were 2 years ago.
And also, that's for a lot of people, that's the only show that they see, period.
Yeah, I know.
Not just you, but they just, you know, oh, we're going to Fridays this week. You know, okay, cool. Yeah, we went last year. It was great.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that kind of thing. It's like, but to go in and be able to, you know, see somebody that's actually, you know, grabbing the crowd and doing music that matters, that can change. That can, you know, once again, it's like if you change one life, if you grab one person, then it's a success.
That's
you know?
very nice. Yeah, I mean, when we were done, I went out in the crowd to talk to my voice teacher, came, and friends, and there was like several, you know, little girls who their parents brought over, and they were like, she's dying to meet you, you know. And I always am like, what's your name? Like, are you a musician? Like, do you want to be? Like, you know. And this one girl I talked to on Friday, she's like, I'm not a musician, but I'm a singer. I was like, oh, you're a musician.
Your voice is your instrument.
And I was like, listen, one thing I will tell you, and you don't have to do it now, but like, you should take voice lessons. I was like, I only started taking voice lessons 2 years ago when I started singing in this band, but I cannot tell you how huge of a difference it's made for me. Like, and people who have been following us since we started 3 years ago will say to me, like, Ramona, like, I don't know how to tell you this, but like, you sound so much better. And I'm like, I know. And I, you know, sometimes I'll go into voice lessons on Tuesday and my teacher will be like, how are your gigs this weekend? How did it go? And I can be like, I had a breakthrough. Like, I was just like, I'm not afraid. I'm going to nail this. And I just went for it and like surprised myself, you know. And singing is like 90% mental. It's crazy. And so that's why lessons are so important, because you get in the muscle memory and you stop overthinking, you stop over pushing. And as someone who, you know, performs 3-hour gigs regularly, and in some days like 2 3-hour gigs, that's like, got to know what you're doing so you don't hurt yourself,
right?
That kind of thing. But anyway, yeah, that's one of the most rewarding things about doing the outdoor shows, is that people can bring their kids, and I get to talk to all the little girls who want to grow up. And this one girl, actually last Friday, 2 Fridays ago at Friday Cheers, she said she was starting a band with her friends called Undead Cats.
Whoa.
So you might want to have them on the show.
Undead Cats.
Dead cats.
Yeah.
I have a feeling I know what their genre is.
Yeah. I hope it's punk.
I was thinking death metal.
I like that even better.
No, there's in a lot of my social feeds, my reels and TikToks, there are these kid metal bands, and they are amazing.
I believe it.
But it's always a girl singing. It's almost always a girl singing, and they just come out and and this one, she just looked adorable. She's like, you know, just looked like the little girl next door, and she starts out the song, and then all of a sudden it's like, Rawr!
That's awesome.
Are you okay with the what I have to assume are constant comparisons to Patsy Cline? I mean, you're a fan,
Oh,
right?
that's
But is
nice.
that ever going to get old for you, or?
No, I don't think so. I mean, she's amazing. And because she's from Virginia also too, like I'm really proud of that. Whenever we perform one of her songs, I'll say like, Miss Patsy Cline, Virginia's own, you know?
Yeah.
Because, man, we're so lucky to be able to claim her as one of ours. And the coolest compliment, though, I ever got at a show was we were playing at a bar in Asheville that no one was at. And there was this really cool girl who was like standing in the corner, like watching us. And she tipped us and we were like, oh, thank you so much. And she said, yeah, this is the closest I'm ever going to get to seeing Kitty Wells play live. And
Ooh,
I was,
wow.
and the whole band went, ooh. So that, yeah. And then Loretta Lynn sometimes. And I mean, all of those great classic ladies are. Charlene Arthur is one I've never got compared to because no one knows about her. She says Elvis stole her moves. She's really cool. You
Wait,
should
so
check
he
her
didn't
out.
learn those from Forrest Gump. All right.
Breaking. Yeah.
Are you looking forward to the day that you get to quit your day job? I'm just assuming that that's a thing in your brain. Like you're. I mean, I
She wrote a
envision-
song about it.
right? Thank you, Gary. This was a nice lead into that. So I picture you on the Grand Ole Opry, the Ryman, all of these classic, iconic country venues. Is that where you see yourself in a few years?
I would like that. I think we're on track for that if we keep working as hard as we are. I have not had a real job since I quit podcasting in 2020, I guess. And that's been really difficult in some ways because I've basically just been doing like gig work or hustling, whatever. Life of crime stuff. Just a little bit. But now I work 2 to 3 days at Continental Divide, which is a restaurant here in town, and where our drummer also works. And it's been really important to me as an artist to have, I mean, fun employment was like the best ever during COVID. Sorry. I said fun employment, but like being able to get, my bills paid so I could make art was so huge. And so I feel like I traded the security of having a steady paycheck for the freedom to be able to really pursue this music, this band, write almost 40 songs in 3 years and all that. Like, so to answer your question, I'm looking forward to not being poor anymore whenever that happens. And I have faith that it will. It's just some months are harder than others. And like, I don't know. Like some people who want to be artists will ask me, like, should I want to quit my job like you and just go for it? I'm like, don't do that.
Yeah, no.
Don't do that. It's only worked in part for me because I've had people looking out, I have to call up my mom sometimes and be like, Mom, I need $500. I'm really sorry. And she'll be like, okay, but like try and figure out your work situation, and it's like, I'm trying, but yeah, so that's the answer, I guess.
Everyone is here on earth for something, but something isn't always plain to see. And if they say you're no one till you're someone, something's gotta get a hold of me. Every day I worry about my money. It's nothing like I thought my life would be. Please don't let it be like this forever. Something's gotta get a hold of me. Mama's scared I'm never gonna make it, but I won't be the girl I used to be. Something's gotta get a hold of me. And if they say you're no one till you're someone, something's gotta get a hold of me.
I have a 28-year-old daughter who does call me occasionally like that.
Yeah.
As well. So is that what the song Something's Got to Get a Hold of Me about?
Yes. That was written probably 3 years ago now. And I was driving to do gig work with my friend who screen printed that shirt.
Nice.
And
like my shirt, Gary? Did you notice?
I did notice.
Yeah.
I noticed you weren't wearing the official shirt.
I know. I brought it just in case, but I knew you were going to wear the Bands You've Never Heard Of shirt, so I knew I could wear the Ramona and the Holy Smoke shirt.
Yeah, but there's a verse in that song that's every day I worry about my money. It's nothing like I thought my life would be. Please don't let it be like this forever. It's like every day I say that. But yeah, I think a lot of being a musician and wanting and is like admitting to yourself that you want that, right? Like saying what it is out loud, which I'm going to do on this podcast, even though it's difficult for me to say, because I think especially with women or like people who are artists, you know, there's like a fear in like really saying like, I want to win a Grammy. I want to be considered one of the best country songwriters that's ever lived. Like that's what I want for my life. And I feel like God would not have given me all of this material and brought me 4 amazing musicians and opened all these doors for me if I wasn't supposed to be doing it. So my faith really keeps me going through the crunchy parts.
That's inspiring, because there is a whole idea that you should be humble, that you shouldn't be worried about winning a Grammy. It's just about the music.
Yeah.
But to be able to admit that, no, I really do want these things, and this is what I see for myself, and I'm willing to do what it takes to get there. That is, thank you for sharing that with us.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't see any negative to that. I mean, really, you know, you got to go for it. You have to have that. You got to have that goal, you know. When I was doing it, my goal was to make a living, and I did. Low bar, yeah, but you know, it was very. I was happy with it, you know, but the best thing about having a loftier goal is you might not hit it, but you're going to be a lot further along in like life and stuff, but much better chance of getting that Grammy if you're going for it than if you're just going, you know, whatever.
Yeah. No, and honestly, that was my goal when I started, and then I kind of reverted to, I just want to be famous enough in this genre to make a living. Like I would just like to be able to pay my bills and buy whatever I want in the grocery store. You know, like that would be great. That's my goal. But like really, it's country music history.
Yeah.
That's what
well, you're in the right place, man. We've got there's been a lot of happening stuff for country music, and and have y'all ever thought of going to Roots and Rhythm?
We're playing that this year.
Oh, okay, good.
We squeaked in.
Because I was like, I'm like, damn, you guys would fit in that so perfectly.
Yep, we're playing it this year, and also on the Grammy thing, they just did a new category for traditional country music album.
Oh, sweet.
So I saw that and I was like, that's it. That's how we're going to get it.
Wow. So, yeah, that's good.
Yep.
I want to ask you about another song.
Please.
I Love Smoking.
Oh, no.
It's, I mean, as a person who just recently kind of had to quit smoking based on doctor's orders, I love this song.
Oh, yeah.
And from a person who still smokes way too much.
Oh, yeah.
We love that song.
I get my nicotine fix by listening to this song.
Oh, good.
So this works. It gets me through.
I love smoking.
But are you ever allowed to quit smoking? I assume there is smoking in your life, but I don't know.
Yes, unfortunately, yes. So that song was written after I had relapsed, and the person I was dating gave me a really hard time about it. And I was like,
Yeah.
I'm going to write a song about how much I love smoking.
I have wanted to do this because I've been in the exact same situation for many years.
And it's like, it's so, I mean, like, I hope the song captured this spirit, like the spirit of like, or the feeling of like knowing that it is hurting you and like loving it.
Yeah.
And being like, this thing I love so much is literally gonna kill me. And like, I kind of like, I don't know. It's like on the one hand, you're apologetic. On the other hand, you're like, I'm gonna do what I want to do. This like cognitive dissonance about it. Since I started singing lessons, unfortunately, what I've discovered is that I can smoke as much as I want and still sound pretty damn good.
Oh, no.
I know, because it used to be before I took singing lessons, if I smoked like, and when I wrote that song, it was like 5 to 10 hand rolly spliffs a day.
Yeah.
So if I smoked 10 spliffs and tried to sing 3 hours, it was not going to go well. So I had to like kind of scale back a little bit. But since I taking singing lessons, now I can like drink and smoke the night before and be completely dehydrated and then show up the next day and kill it and be like, there's no rhyme or reason why this should work. So anyway, yeah, I would really like to quit smoking because I know it is having an effect on my voice. I know when I do take breaks and then sing, I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, it's better.
It's whoa.
Yeah.
So much better. But it's hard. I mean, especially in a band. I mean, like venues give you free alcohol and there's nothing better than a little cigarette with your alcohol. So I don't know. I'm probably going to have to get completely sober before I quit, which is a path for country musicians. It's not not unheard of. So
50 years ago, our parents smoked not really knowing the risks.
Yeah.
And you can't be a smoker today without understanding what it's doing to you. And there's a line in the song. It reminds me, breathe the good life in, treasure every moment, treasure every sin. That speaks to me a lot. It almost reminds me of the I'd rather laugh with the sinners than die with the saints, only the good die young by Billy Joel. It's kind of that. Like, I know this is quote unquote wrong, but damn, I love it.
Yeah. I don't know what it is. I had a person who is a little psychic tell me once that the reason I liked it so much was because I didn't breathe otherwise in my life. She's like, you take a deep breath, that's the only time you really do that. So, but anyway.
Yeah, I even got one of those breath links, and I've been wearing it for a while, but now I just wear it as a necklace because it's kind of attractive.
Is it like a fit you?
Yeah, it's just I mean, there's nothing in it. It's just a laser cut piece of steel tubing, but when you puff on it, when you draw on it, it feels great.
Yeah.
And it feels, but you get all this oxygen, which, I don't understand.
I need to get one of those.
Yeah. They're, I can send you the link.
Please do.
And, but then, life happened and, I'm back to, pack plus a day. So
I understand.
It's, but I still wear it. Just in case.
Yeah.
I'm like, one of these days, I'm going to not stop at Wawa on the way to the podcast and buy 4 packs of cigarettes.
Yeah.
It's like, that's what's going to happen.
You should switch to Rollies. It's so much better.
I've got a whole thing at home, and I got, it became too expensive because I became addicted to like the best tobacco
Oh,
out
really?
there. So
I like Peter Stockaby's. Do you know that?
That's what I use, yeah. Which one did you have?
I like Turkish export, but I find it in the stores it's very dry.
I like the Norwegian.
Yeah, that's good too. I think I have that in my bag.
Yeah, but that was.
Anyways, sorry.
So we're talking, but that's what happens on this podcast. We get off on sidetracks.
I once wrote a commercial jingle for Peter Stockaby's around when we released "I Love Smoking."
Yeah, because I kept trying to find something that wasn't, $13 for a small pouch.
Yeah, no.
And, nothing. I mean, nothing would, and, 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 except maybe American Spirit. But I'm like, if I'm going to roll American Spirits and spend more rolling it, I think I'll just buy American Spirits.
Yeah.
So,
It's not that great tobacco anyway.
yeah.
All right, sorry guys.
All right, Ramona, it says on your website that you had a creative awakening when staying at a cabin in Maine in which you wrote 21 songs. Are those the songs you're doing now with the Holy Smokes?
A lot of them, yeah. There's only a couple that we're not playing. But I didn't write all 21 at the cabin. That started the flood.
Yeah.
Yeah. Basically, I was around this lake for about a week. I would walk around the lake, and I decided that I was gonna just like channel a poem, just like try to like write a poem without judging myself too harshly. I had this narrative in my head for a long time, like since I was in college, that I was not good at writing verse. Like all of my poems in college when I took poetry classes all the rhymes were like too on the nose, if that makes sense.
Sure.
Like I didn't have a lot of nuance or artistry in my verse writing.
It was the obvious choice.
Yeah. And so I was just kind of like, I'm not good at this. And so I didn't do it for like 10 years. And then I was like, you know what? I'm just going to like channel it because I mentioned before, I'm like a pretty religious person and pretty also like kind of spiritual, like a little woo-woo even. And so I was like, I'm gonna channel a poem from like, I don't know, like maybe I'll like try to channel it from like the Virgin Mary or something, just like write. And I wrote it, and it was like, I mean, the poem itself is lovely, and I think it's because it came from outside of me, but that really kind of set the standard or like the process for like how all of the other songs come. When I talk about writing my music, I like refer to the honky tonk angels.
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, they're the spirits in this, on your shirt too. The spirits in the sky who give me song ideas. So they will be the ones who will give me, you know, the melody. Sometimes they'll give me like a whole chorus with like all the words and melody and hook at the same time. When the song comes really fast, it's them. And I think like, actually I've been listening to Rick Rubin's book about creativity, and I was pleasantly surprised to hear him break all of this down exactly how I've been experiencing it the last 3 years, which is every person is a vessel for inspiration that comes from outside of us, and it comes through the filter of your life and your experiences, but it's like not yours. It's like the universe almost like uses people as a way to get their message to others.
Wow.
And so I firmly believe that like that is what's happened, why I'm able to write so many songs, and why I think they're all good, because I didn't like really write. I mean,
yeah, so you're not being boastful to say these are good because you would attribute them to a higher power.
Yeah. I mean, it's through like the lens of my life and my experiences. And sometimes that's hard because I have to step back and be like, well, that line doesn't really fit my situation, and I want it to be honest to my life. And then it's like, well, like maybe the song is better if it's not just about you, you know, like try to like pull back and see like if it's a little bit different, like if situation's like slightly different, but the song is stronger as a result for it, that kind of thing. But and because, like I said, because of how that has happened to me, makes me feel like a duty to pursue this career, because it's not really like having no money is not fun. Road is really hard. I have a great time, but it's like exhausting.
Yeah.
And if I get what I want, that's going to be all the time, you know, and if I were to become like famous, that's like a whole other can of worms of like stuff you have to deal with, you know?
Stuff you probably can't even imagine yet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But in some ways it's like, who am I to get all these songs and just be like, no, I'm going to like just get a steady job and read all day.
I need health insurance.
Yeah.
So we've approached the, you know, okay, you're singing very historic sounding music brought to the modern. Did you realize, or do you do it on purpose, that you're picking some very really cool lines from classic country songs and putting them in there? And I Want You to Be My Man, Where Lynn, Take You to the Movies, Buck Owens.
There's some other songs, but that's so funny that you point that out.
Yeah, I just picked that up and we mentioned it to these guys, and they're like, "Oh yeah,"
That's so cool.
So that's totally just.
Sometimes it's intentional. Like those two. No, I didn't know.
Oh wow!
Which is hilarious. We have a song coming out on the album called "Drunk After Work," and there's a line in the song that's "Wasted days and wasted nights. I like reds and I like whites."
Oh, okay.
So that's Freddie Fender reference. So sometimes, I'll do that.
Which is perfect since it's he wasn't Mexican completely, but it wasn't
totally
too far.
Yeah.
That fits well. But I just wanted to see, because a lot of times I will put things in, like I finally got to have a song that had my favorite quote of all times, which is "Wherever you go, there you are," and I finally got that in a song. Did you were you picking these things up and go, oh man, you're listening to a Buck Owens song going down the road, and it's like, I want to take you to the movies, and like the next thing you know, you have it in the song, and or if you like, because some people will definitely try to put Easter eggs in there and see. So now you're going to go home and you're going to look.
I know.
You're going to go back through all of your lyrics and go, what did I do? What did I do? What did I do?
Yeah, I feel like there's one more example, but I can't think of it right now. But yeah, cool.
Ramona, thank you so much for taking time out of your Sunday to come hang out with us. And while I don't expect you to mention this podcast you did many years ago in your Grammys speech, I do fully expect to see you at the Grammys at some point, to see you on some big stages. I could tell instantly. Like, it was as soon as my friend mentioned it and I looked up the name, I started listening. I was like, this is definitely, if we can get in on the ground floor, that would be great.
Thank you so much.
Maybe someday we can do like a follow-up, like, the bands they've never heard of, the early days,
right?
Where are they now, kind of a thing.
I love that idea.
And we never did finish the ratings, sadly.
Okay, rate the name, Ramona and the Holy Smokes.
The SEO is really good. Once you get to the Holy Smokes, you do have to type it all in, but it goes right there, like that.
Right,
I
rate
love
the bio.
Name. The bio is awesome. It was virtually perfect. Your socials were high, and you are one of the very few that actually have a website.
And a really good website.
Yeah.
Oh, of bands you've never
But
heard of.
you could
Ramonaandtheholysmokes.com. It's a pretty decent website. Tour dates are up there. You can listen to songs.
Everything is
great bio, great pictures, YouTube videos of live performances.
And a music video that we made that like less than 1,000 people have seen, and it's amazing, so you should watch it.
Yeah, it's tells a story.
It's based on the life of Vivian Cash. I don't know if you picked up on that. But.
I did not. I'm not as well versed. This is not my typical genre of music, which is, I think, what a lot of people experience when they hear you, when they see you.
Yeah.
And you even have some quotes on your website. It's kind of mirrored what I was thinking. Like, I didn't think I liked this kind of music most of the time. Johnny Cash and others, obvious exceptions to that. But this isn't what I spend my time listening to. It is what I spent my last 3 days listening to.
Aw, thank you.
Yeah, I just love it. So I think a lot of people realize, I might like country music when they hear Ramona and the Holy Smokes.
Or this country music. I mean, this is worlds away from what's happening now.
I feel like I say this in almost every interview because it's important, but like Hank Williams was once asked, what is country music about? And he said one word, sincerity. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what we try to do.
Ramona, thank you once again.
Thank you, guys.
It has been a pleasure to talk with you, a pleasure to see you play music the other night. Thank you, and look forward to all of your success.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks for coming with us. Now we'll go have a cigarette.
Yay!
Tim, thank you for recording this here in Studio
I've been
607.
working so hard.
This episode of Bands You've Never Heard Of is a production of Ranch Hand Records. Go to ranchhandrecords.com for more information. BYNHO is hosted by Gary Hawthorne and J.R. Stoffel. Engineered by Tim Ryan at Studio 607 in Ivy, Virginia. Band You've Never Heard Of is edited, mixed, and mastered by J.R. Stoffel. All songs were used with Ramona's permission. For tour dates and more, visit RamonaandTheHolySmokes.com. Check out the official Bands You've Never Heard Of playlist on Spotify. Go to www.bynhopod.com for all things Band You've Never Heard Of. Our YouTube channel is youtube.com/@BYNHOPod. And to get in touch with us about anything, email us at BYNHOPod, BYNHOPOD, BYNHOPod@gmail.com. Ramona, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. I'm happy to be here.
How was that intro way too long?
It was a little long. That's all right.
This is